Welcome to the AI in Lending podcast. AI in Lending is a cutting edge podcast hosted by me, Michael Hammond, and my co-host, Josh Friend, CEO and founder of Insellerate. And we're going to explore the transformative impact of artificial intelligence and its impact on the lending landscape. Each episode will deliver a mix of AI updates, real-world applications, and practical insights for lending professionals. The show starts with a rapid-fire 2 to 5 minute AI news segment, keeping listeners at the forefront of technological advancements. The heart of the podcast features a 10-minute interview with AI innovators, industry leaders, and tech evangelists who are actively leveraging AI in lending. These conversations offer listeners a window into implementing AI solutions, practical applications, and those challenges. So let's get started right with the news. OpenAI just announced SearchGTP, an AI-powered search engine prototype that combines powerful AI models with information from the internet to provide users with timely answers from relevant sources, directly challenging Google's search domination. Caption's new AI-powered eye contact feature automatically adjusts your gaze in videos, making it appear as if you're always looking directly at the camera. Google upgraded Gemini with 1.5 Flash, offering faster responses, a 4 times X larger context window, and expanded access in over 40 languages and 230 countries. Adobe is adding generative AI features to Illustrator and Photoshop. Illustrator's updates, powered by the latest Firefly Vector AI model, include generative shape fill, improved text to pattern, and style reference tools. Photoshop updates include upgrades to its generative image features, enhanced detail to generative fill, and a new selection brush tool. Meta has released Llama 3.1, a family of 3 new open source AI models that anyone can download and use to build new AI apps. It's the first open source model to rank among the top tier of AI models. Yes, that's the Chat GPT-4s, the Claude 3.5 Sonnets, the Gemini Ultras, which are closed models, meaning that no one can see how they're made. Because open source means anyone can see how the model works, it means anyone can examine, modify, and build on top of that code. Apple just unveiled a new 7 billion parameter open source AI model dubbed DCLM-7B that outperforms Mistral 7B and closes in on other leading OpenAI models like Llama 3 and Gemma across key benchmarks. While Apple has been a bit slow to the open source hype train, developers from around the world are excited about the unexpected open dataset. Microsoft just announced its AI-powered designer is out of preview and now available worldwide, bringing advanced image generation, editing, and design capabilities to users on mobile and Windows platforms. Microsoft is making a big push into the AI design space, but it isn't alone, with major players like Canva and Adobe already leaning heavily into the tech to make creativity more accessible for everyday users. And Salesforce announced Einstein Service Agent, an AI-powered autonomous customer service chatbot that leverages LLMs and company data to understand context, take action on issues, and provide personalized responses. Over to you now, Josh.
Hey, Michael, thanks for introducing us. I'm Josh Friend, co-host of AIinLending. I got my special guest, Neil Sahota, who will be a featured guest here on our podcast. So wanted to just bring him on and talk a little about AI. And I think what would be really helpful is I've known Neil for some time, so I know his background and his resume, if you will. And I thought it would be good, really, Neil, to kind of hop in and let's talk about, a little bit about your background and what you've done in AI. And I know last time we spoke, you had a really interesting story about how you got involved with IBM Watson and how that took place. Kind of just love to hear that and just introduce yourself.
Sure, Josh. So it's great to have a conversation with you. So like probably a lot of successful people in life, things kind of happen by accident. It's just being open to opportunity. But I never really planned to go in AI. I know I'm dating myself here, but 20 years ago, business intelligence was the big thing. And working with a lot of the big companies and the big folks like Michael Eisner and Warren Buffett, I remember they're like, Neil, it's amazing what computers are telling us. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not really telling us anything. We have all these great tools now to collect all this data and store it, and we can slice and dice and make these nice looking reports. But it got me thinking, Josh, could a computer look at data and draw insight from it? And so that set me down a path I was calling enterprise intelligence. So I created a bunch of patents. I was trying to make a product out of it, and I got a call from IBM R&D asking about some of my work. And then they're like, you're working on a secret project. We just started it, but you solved some big problems for us. Do you want to join us? The project is codenamed Watson. And that's how I wound up on the original IBM Watson team.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And just so for those who don't know who IBM Watson, I mean, I know Watson because it was one of the first AI machines out there. So you guys went on with Watson to do some pretty cool stuff, right? Like the Jeopardy challenge. I think that was one of the things that got a lot of notoriety. I think that, and that was a while ago. That was like AI, like a long time ago, and early in the market. And so talk about that. Like, what did you guys do with the Jeopardy challenge, and how did that work?
So the Jeopardy challenge was 2011, but we started working on it in 2006. So that's how the technology was a lot different back then,
Yeah,
and so you're trying to figure this out, and Jeopardy tapes like 2.5 years in advance. So we had to commit to them well in advance, not knowing that we could actually do this. So, and a lot of people always ask, Neil, that's great, but there are already computers that can play chess and these types of things. It's like chess is a finite game with very well defined rules.
that's right.
Yeah, Jeopardy is different, right? You're given an answer, you have to figure out the question. We don't use, proper English, the framing of some of this stuff with the double negatives and all this. So that's hard for a computer to understand. It's like, Josh, if I'm telling you I'm feeling blue, I'm saying that I'm sad, but you tell a computer I'm feeling blue, it thinks somehow you're physically the color blue, right?
That's right.
So how do you reconcile that? And then there's a strategy to the game of Jeopardy. And so, we went and played, and, Watson did not start off well. If you go back on YouTube and watch what's going on in his 6 of his first 7 questions, when they pan the audience, you can see us furiously on our Blackberries. I remember reaching out to people like, hey, I might be in the market for a new job after lunch. But in a testament how fast, AI learns, it really turned around and did well. And, it, it ultimately won, which I think a lot of us were surprised by. We thought we just hope we would do okay. But the second day, Watson did something that people thought was strange. It was getting late in Double Jeopardy. And you know how people normally they pick a category and just go down, pick another category, just go down. Watson was like jumping around all over the board like randomly, and people were like, "What on earth is it doing?" And it's like based on the training we gave it, it understood from its strategy that there's one daily double left, and if Brad found it and bet enough and got it right, Brad would win the game, right? But if Watson found it and took it away, Watson had a very high chance of winning that game. And so it was looking for the daily double. It didn't care the categories. It wasn't trying to rack up, dollars. It was trying to find that double jeopardy, take it away and seal the game up. And it found it, right? But in a testament how we can learn from machines, ever since then, human players have learned that that's actually an important strategy, and you actually see them do that now. So it's really interesting to see how that all kind of unfolded.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I think the power of AI. What I like to say, it's contextual understanding too. I think that's a big part of it. Like it can understand things in context of the overall desired outcome. Like to chess, to your point, that's a very linear thing. How many moves ahead can I program and see? That's not really a contextual thing. That's just like a process thing. So the AI is very, very contextual. So yeah, I think that's really, I mean, so you went on from Watson, and I know now you're an advisor at United Nations. and you've written a book. So tell me about how you got involved in the United Nations and what do you do there? And just kind of, what is the United Nations concerned about AI?
So I, from the beginning, was very concerned about, the fear factor, the impact, the need for responsible and explainable AI. And, as things evolved, because we were getting death threats, before even the Jeopardy challenge, we were getting death threats. We're like, you guys are building Skynet, you're going to kill off humanity, and trying to put some safeguards in. And be one of the advocates for that, and starting to build up kind of this AI ecosystem. 2015, the United Nations, the member nations were trying to finalize the Sustainable Development Goals. You know, good buddy of mine, Stephen Baraki, I'd done him a big favor. He called me up to thank me, and he's like, there's going to be this big UN conference. The world leaders are going to be there. The UN ambassadors are going to be there. One of their things top of mind is AI, and I sit on the organizing committee to put together the program. I put your name forward to give a speech. Honestly, I'm thinking like, yeah, right, Stephen, I'll yanking my chain. He's like, no, and he's like, I didn't even have to sell you. Two of the UN guys are familiar with you and heard you talk before. They would love to have you. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. I totally didn't believe him. And the next day, I got an email from the office of the Secretary General with a nice formal invitation and everything. That's when I realized, oh, this is real.
That's cool.
So, I had a little time to prep, but I was told in advance that the UN leaders, the world leaders, they're all afraid of AI. They think it's going to rise up, conquer the world, eradicate humanity. So, no pressure. So in my speech, gave a more optimistic outlook, but I didn't talk so much about what AI is. I was talking about how it's already being used in public service. It's actually helping communities, and how it can be applied towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And so the speech was really well received. That evening at the reception, several of the world leaders, Secretary General, they kind of came up to me and they're like, Neil, we never thought about using the technology. We were worried about like regulating it and limiting the liabilities, the negative risks. But there's a lot of momentum from your speech. You want to figure something out, and they were very serious. They carved out resources and stuff, and that allowed us to create the AI for Good initiative, which is a program to you know develop AI tactical solutions around the SDGs. And through that work, and helping the UN named me their AI advisor. So that's how I really wound up getting started. And to date, we've impacted positively over 1.1 billion people.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, when I first met you and I knew you had that title of being the advisor of the United Nations for AI, I figured that your credentials were high enough to be able to help advise my company on how we could use AI. So, I appreciate that. That was kind of early on, you giving us some kind of directions down there. And then, I think kind of as we're ending, I just kind of with your background, obviously you have a lot of experience and I think you have a big knowledge. I think something that would be helpful. I was recently at a show and I was speaking on an AI panel, and someone said to me, they gave the definition of what AI was. They said, AI is this big word, but really AI is not. It's just a bunch of different things. There's like a machine learning, and there's that's AI when people use these models, and then there's natural language processing when they program. That's it. And then I kind of actually had to stop because they were advising a bunch of banks saying that machine learning was AI, and I said, yeah, I'm like, well, actually, I want to disagree with you. That's not AI. AI, because the difference and I think the reason why it's important, if you're a lender or a bank and you're afraid of AI right now, you're not sure what that means. Using machine learning or models is not using AI. It's not contextual. It doesn't think for itself. It doesn't interact as a human. So I think maybe it'd be good if you gave the definition of AI, so that way people understand, yes, machine learning is part of an AI, natural language processing is part of AI, but those separately are not AI by themselves. What is the definition of AI, and how is that different than just a model or an algorithm, if you will?
Yeah, so there's really three things that comprise AI. The first, like you alluded to, is machine learning. There's a slight difference to just like pure machine learning. We don't program AI, we teach it. We give it something we call ground truth, rules on how to make decisions. So think about like you're trying to teach a 3-year-old child what's the difference between good behavior and bad behavior. You can't wait till it does something and say, okay, that was good or bad. That's reactive. You can't give it examples because there's literally infinite amount of that. So you might start thinking like, okay, if it helps somebody, it's good behavior. If it hurts somebody, it's bad behavior. Right? You
Mm.
come up with simple rules like that. You give the AI a lot of data, so it starts looking, it starts trying to figure out, is this good, is this bad behavior? So it wires itself, right? We call it the neural network. That gets wired by the AI itself, and it really develops its own algorithms that way. So it's not algorithms we give it. So I know that
I,
probably freaks a lot of people out, but that's the most effective way. That's why it can do things or figure out things that we necessarily don't know. The second thing is it understands natural language. So it's not looking at keywords, it's taking context from what you're saying. So the grammar, the syntax, the colloquialism, that's why it understands slang, like I'm feeling blue, and jargon and all that. So that's really important because there's a lot of kind of things you infer from conversations, which is the third part of AI, is that it's not like a giant search engine, right? You just don't have to give commands. It's meant to interact like it's another person. So it's conversational. Like if I want to buy a bicycle, normally I go to Google and say, buy a bike, right? And I get a bazillion web pages. I look through, learn some more keywords, but after all this work to search, I can just go to AI and say, I want to buy a bicycle. Which one should I get? And if it's been trained on bicycles, it'll probably actually come back and say, Neil, why do you want one? Oh, right, pretty good question. I want to get back in shape. Where are you going to ride it? Around the neighborhood, right? How often? A couple of times a week, hour at a time. So it's taking this extra data and it's taking things it already knows about me. Like, I know Neil doesn't like to spend money on material things and some of these things, to come up with kind of the best recommendation for myself rather than a generic one. And so it's those three parts, the machine learning, the natural language processing, and the conversational piece that really comprise what AI is.
you know, I appreciate you giving that definition. I think that's important. And it's really important for people to know that, because there's a lot of people have been selling models and saying that I have AI, and it's not AI. And you know what? It doesn't necessarily need to be AI. You could use it in a financial model that doesn't have to be AI at all. You can build a great model that works for you just wonderfully. But AI is something different. It starts to understand and learn on its own, and it has that ability to interact with a human. That's why I was in this panel, I was saying, yes, AI is going to change a lot of things, but what's really nice about AI is the fact that its ability to interact as a human is going to make it a lot more approachable, much easier for people to actually use when they use AI, because it's not like, learning how to run, Windows, and you have to click here and click that and check this box. It's a conversational action, so it becomes easier for people to actually use. Listen, I really appreciate your time, and I guess again we're going to have you back as much as we can. So everyone, thanks for listening, and appreciate your time. Have a great day. Okay, we'll start another one.